Look, I've been turning wrenches for over 22 years now, and I have seen it all. I've watched enough engines turn into very expensive paperweights to know one thing for absolutely sure. Most people are their car's own worst enemy, and they don't even realize it until the massive bill arrives. Every single morning, millions of drivers across the United States are committing slow-motion engine suicide. You think you're taking care of it, but that one tiny habit is actually shaving years off its life. Today, I'm exposing the 5 things you must stop doing immediately to hit that 300,000-mile mark. Let's dive into the first one, because this is where the real engine meltdown begins. It's a freezing cold morning in America. You're late for work. You jump in your truck, fire it up, and immediately floor it. You might as well take a handful of jagged glass and throw it directly into your cylinders. Here is the truth manufacturers won't tell you. Most modern cars in the United States use 0 W20 oil. It's thin oil, designed to satisfy the government fuel economy regulations, but it has the smallest safety margin under heat. When your engine is cold, the oil is thick like molasses and hasn't fully reached the top of the motor yet. Revving it now means critical parts like the turbocharger or pistons are running without any proper lubrication. You are essentially rubbing metal on metal for those first few critical seconds. I've seen $10,000 engine rebuilds that could have been avoided with just 30 seconds of patience. Why would you gamble the heart of your car just to save half a minute in the morning? Think about the bearings. Think about the rings. They are screaming for oil while you're staring at your phone. Give it a moment to breathe. Let that golden fluid reach every corner of the engine before you ask it to work. Listen to the sound of a healthy, warmed-up engine. That smooth purr is the sound of money staying in your pocket. If you feel like this advice just saved you from a massive bill, go ahead and hit that like button right now. Consider it your personal contract with your engine for a long, happy, and very cheap life. But if you think that was bad, wait until you hear about the next mistake. It's going to make you sweat. You do this every single time you park, and it is slowly snapping your expensive transmission in half. This mistake will make you wipe the sweat from your forehead because you do it every single day. And the price tag for this parking habit is a cool $5,000. Now that we have saved your engine from a massive meltdown before you even leave your driveway, it is time to talk about how you are slowly, and quite literally, snapping your transmission in half. I call this the shifter slam, and it is the absolute fastest way to turn your reliable daily driver into a very expensive, motionless heap of steel. Picture the scene. You are running late for a meeting, or maybe you are just in a hurry to get home. You fly into your parking spot, and while the car is still barely rolling forward, I'm talking just 1 or 2 miles per hour, you reach over and shove that selector into park. Did you hear that loud clunk? That sharp, metallic snap sound? That is the sound of your bank account beginning to scream for mercy. You see, inside that complex 6-speed or 8-speed automatic transmission, there is a tiny, and I mean tiny, piece of metal called the parking pawl. We mechanics usually call it the parking claw. And honestly, it is no bigger than your thumb. Now, think about the physics of that for a second. You are forcing a small metal pin, a piece of hardware that looks like an ordinary bolt, to instantly stop 4,000 pounds of moving kinetic energy. It is total insanity. It is exactly like trying to stop a moving freight train by jamming a pencil between the spokes of the wheels. Eventually, that pencil is going to snap. And when that pin breaks, the real nightmare begins. those jagged metal shards from the broken pawl don't just sit there. They get swept up by the transmission fluid, and they start grinding through your expensive gears like a wood chipper. And in today's United States market, a transmission rebuild from modern sedan or SUV is going to cost you at least $5,000. Your local dealership will be more than happy to take your $5,000 check, but I would much rather see you spend that money on a nice vacation. The fix for this is so simple, it almost makes me feel bad for telling you. Stop the car completely. Make sure the needle on the speedometer is at dead zero. Keep your foot firmly on the brake pedal. Pull that emergency brake or parking brake, and only then should you shift into park. This simple 2-second routine moves the entire weight of the car onto the brakes, which are cheap and easy to replace, and keeps the pressure off your sensitive transmission internals. But listen, if you think breaking a piece of metal is scary, wait until you see what happens when your gas needle drops below that quarter tank line. The next mistake is a gamble that millions of American drivers play every single week, and it is literally frying one of the most vital components of your fuel system. You are going to want to wipe the sweat from your forehead for this one, because I am almost certain you did this yesterday, or even this morning. I see you. I see you driving down the I-95 with that low fuel light glowing like a neon sign in a dark alley. You're staring at the dashboard, playing a mental game of, how far can I really go, while your car is literally begging you for a drink. You think you are being frugal or just too busy to stop at the Shell station, but you are actually playing a high-stakes game of Russian roulette with your fuel system, and the house always wins. Here is the truth that most drivers in America completely misunderstand. In your old 1970s truck, the fuel pump was mechanical and sat on the engine. But in your modern Toyota, Ford, or Honda, that fuel pump is a high-precision electric motor that lives deep inside your gas tank, and it relies on the gasoline itself to stay alive. Gasoline isn't just the food for your car. It is the coolant and the lubricant for that pump. When you let that tank drop below a quarter, or worse, down to empty, that pump is no longer submerged in a cooling bath of fuel. It starts sucking in air. It starts running hot, and it begins to cook itself from the inside out. Think of it like a deep fryer running without any oil. It is going to burn out in a matter of minutes. And I know what you are thinking. But my uncle told me I'm just sucking up the dirt from the bottom of the tank. Look, while there is some truth to contaminants settling, your fuel filter usually handles that. The real silent killer is the heat. When that pump overheats, it wears out the internal bearings and ruins the motor. And suddenly, your car just dies in the middle of a four-way intersection. Now, let's talk about the mechanic's special price tag. In the United States, replacing a fuel pump isn't just a quick fix. On many modern vehicles, we have to literally drop the entire gas tank or tear out your back seats just to get to it. You are looking at a bill of $1,000 in labor and parts, easily. All because you didn't want to spend 5 minutes at the pump on a Tuesday morning. Let's have some fun in the comments. I want to know who is the biggest risk taker here. What is the absolute lowest miles to empty you have ever seen on your dashboard before you finally chickened out and pulled over? Drop the number below. I want to see who has been living on the edge of a $200 tow truck bill. Now, if you think a dead fuel pump is a headache, wait until we talk about the silent tax your car is charging you every single mile. Most of you have a warning light on your dash right now, and you think, it's probably fine. But that little light is actually a mask for a sensor that is quietly torching your fuel budget and melting your engine components behind your back. you're going to want to take a deep breath before the next chapter, because this is the one that is literally draining hundreds of dollars from your bank account every single month while you pretend nothing is wrong. Let's get into the sensor tax. I have seen this movie 1,000 times in my shop. A driver walks in, looking frustrated, confused, holding a stack of gas receipts like they are proof of a crime. They tell me, "I'm filling up twice as often as I used to, but there is no check engine light, no noise, nothing feels wrong." And that is exactly why this problem is so dangerous. Your car feels perfectly normal, while a hidden setting and one tiny sensor are quietly torching your fuel economy behind your back. You think you are saving money by ignoring that soft feeling in the engine, but you are actually paying a silent tax every single mile you drive. Over the last year, I have seen this same pattern hundreds of times. Perfectly healthy engines suddenly losing 20, 30, even 40% of their miles per gallon with zero symptoms. No codes, no warnings, nothing you would notice until your bank account does. Inside your exhaust stream, just inches from where fire and fuel explode thousands of times per minute, sits a small device no bigger than your finger. It is your oxygen sensor, and your car relies on it every single second of every drive. Most people imagine sensors are perfect digital devices that either work or they don't. But that is not how engines operate. Sensors get lazy. They drift. They get coated in carbon, soot, and oil vapor until they slow down and lose accuracy. They become inaccurate long before they actually break. When this sensor begins to fail, the car doesn't scream for help. It whispers, quiet enough that most drivers never hear it until their wallet does. Here is the mechanical magic that ruins your budget. When the sensor gets lazy, it starts lying to your engine control unit, the ECU. It tells the computer the engine is running lean, even when it is not. So what does the computer do? It reacts instantly. It dumps in more fuel, more and more, enough to keep the engine running smoothly, but at the cost of your life savings. Imagine your bathroom scale telling you that you are starving even after a massive Thanksgiving meal. So you eat again. That is exactly what your car is doing. The engine hides the symptoms because the ECU is working overtime to compensate. It will keep doing that until something catastrophic happens. Your exhaust runs hotter. Carbon starts building up on your intake valves, pistons, and cylinder heads. Suddenly, your engine isn't just wasting fuel. It is degrading itself mile by mile. And that $90 sensor you ignored is now about to melt your $3,000 catalytic converter. But the real breakthrough happens the moment you test the sensor directly. I don't look for codes. I look for behavior. With a simple scan tool, anyone can watch the fuel trims. If they are elevated and slowly climbing, you have found your thief. The moment you replace that lazy sensor with a quality brand like Denso or Bosch, the change is immediate. The idle smooths, the smell of unburned fuel disappears, and your miles per gallon return from the dead. Now, if you are sweating thinking about your gas receipts, take a deep breath. Because we have reached the absolute meltdown mistake. The final thing on my list is something you do every single morning when you arrive at work and every single evening when you get home. It takes exactly 60 seconds to do it right. But if you ignore it, you are literally cooking your engine from the inside out. This next one is for everyone with a turbocharger, and it is the difference between a car that lasts a decade and one that dies before the loan is paid off. Let's talk about the turbo meltdown. We have finally reached the end of the line. The absolute #1 mistake that is quietly melting engines across the United States right now. If you own a modern car, there is a very high chance you have a turbocharger under your hood, even if you don't think your car is sporty. Automakers are putting turbos on everything, from tiny sedans to massive SUVs, to get more power while meeting those strict government emissions targets. But here is the problem. They don't give you a manual on how to actually keep that turbo alive. Imagine you've just finished a long haul on the interstate, or maybe you were towing a trailer up a steep mountain grade in the Arizona heat. Your turbocharger is spinning at over 200,000 revolutions per minute, and it is blazing hot. It is literally glowing orange just inches away from your engine block. You pull into a gas station or your driveway, and you immediately turn the key off. You just committed a $3,000 crime against your own vehicle. Here is the science of why your engine is currently cooking itself. When you shut the engine off immediately, the oil pump stops. That means the fresh, cooling oil that was flowing through the turbo is now trapped inside a metal housing that is sitting at 1,000 degrees. The oil essentially gets cooked. In the mechanic world, we call this oil coking. That expensive synthetic oil turns into hard carbon deposits, like a layer of burnt crust on a cast iron skillet. Those deposits start to clog oil passages, reduce cooling, and eventually they destroy the turbo bearings. One day, you'll step on the gas to merge onto the highway and hear a high-pitched dentist drill sound. That is the sound of your turbo crying for help right before it explodes. Once that happens, you are looking at a major repair bill, easily into the thousands of dollars. I have seen customers shell out $3,500 for a new turbo and labor, all because they couldn't wait 60 seconds to turn off their car. It breaks my heart, because this is the easiest mistake in the world to avoid. After a long-haul towing or a high-speed drive, just let your engine idle for 30 to 60 seconds. That is it. Those 60 seconds keep the oil flowing through the turbo, letting it cool gradually. It prevents the coking and protects your turbo's longevity. It is the difference between an engine that dies at 70,000 miles and one that runs past 400,000. You now have the knowledge that separates the people who get ripped off at the dealership from the people who actually understand their machines. But the truth is, this is only the beginning. If you appreciate information that actually saves you money and gives you power over your vehicle, then do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button right now. Because my next video is going to expose another silent killer inside your engine that most drivers never discover until it's far too late. I'm going to show you a secret engine trick that could save you another $2,000 on your next service. And you do not want to miss it. Drive safe, take care of your car, and it'll take care of you. I'll see you in the next one.